Post this video completely unedited, just straight up raw and authentic. And what I really want to talk about is the biggest thing I personally had to learn in business. You see, for me, it all started when I was 14. I live in Florida now, and I actually applied to work at a grocery store. I didn't get in, and I just decided to start car washing on my own at 14 in the brutal hot Florida summers when it was a million degrees out. And I was running that for a couple summers. I was honestly undercharging. I was just kind of slaving away, to be honest with you. And I knew I wanted more for myself, but I just couldn't figure out what it was yet. So then when I was 16, I got into window cleaning and I started doing that again. I became very known in my neighborhood and I understood just principles of just working for myself. And it was cool. I was working for myself. I was making my own money. I was doing this. I was doing that. But then again, I still knew there was something more for me. And then come when I was 16, 2022, I hear about online business and I'm hooked. And all of a sudden I know that this is the thing I want to start pursuing and start understanding. But the question is now, well, what online business do I do? There's a million different ones. There's, e-com and drop shipping, and then there's, having an agency, and then there's trading, and then there's this and there's that. So there's so many things that opened up my eyes to the game. And honestly, I didn't know which route to go. And so I'd say for a while, for a year, while I was at least still hustling the other stuff, that's what I was doing. I was honestly just bouncing around from business model to business model, and I wasn't going anywhere with it. But it wasn't until May of 2024 I jumped into what was called high ticket sales. And at that point, I had invested into myself, into a mentorship, and gotten help, started getting coached, mentored, started outreaching, getting on different offers and whatnot. And it took me 5 whole months to make my first dollar. And it was brutal because I was grinding and I was working hard for it, but it just wasn't happening for me. And then eventually, come January of 2025, I got a closing role. And that's when things started to change for me. That's really what was able to put me on the map. I had started being consistent, started making good money with closing, and that was the momentum jump I needed. That was the breakthrough I honestly needed in my journey. But then I knew, I was like, well, I still got to get past this because I don't want to do this forever. I was taking calls 8, 10 hours a day, even when I was sick and I had bronchitis and I lost my voice for like a week and a half. I was still taking calls, from 8, 9 a.m. all the way up until 10, 11 p.m. It was brutal, and I don't really recommend it to anybody. But if you're really trying to grind and make something happen, it's kind of what you have to do. But I still knew in the long run, this isn't what I wanted to do. And then that's when I thought, I was like, why don't I just have my own agency? I see a lot of my friends doing this growth operator thing, and they have their own agencies and they are able to manage more, make more, and at the end of the day, actually build something with leverage where they can utilize their time and be able to create systems and delegate. And that way, it's not like their entire money that they make is just correlated to the time that they spend in the business, like sales. Like sales, my income was directly capped to how much calls I can take a day. And that's it. I can't scale it. But if I could create something that actually is tangible and it has systems and I have certain levers that I can pull, so that way I do increase my leverage, but then also create something that can scale, that's what's going to really help me in the long run. And so that's what I decided to do. So then May of 2026 or 2025, I invested into another mentorship and got more help. And shout out Ben Bader, rest in peace. But that's what I decided to do because I knew I was meant for something more. And fast forward now, a year and a half later, I no longer just have small little clients. I have 2 big clients I'm working with right now, and I'm still trying to get more and do this and do that and keep scaling the business. And there's so many things I'm learning right now. But the key thing I want you to start understanding is you have to be able to adapt. And you have to know you're meant for something more and that you have to take action towards it. I was having a convo with a friend last night, and the interesting thing was he has no clue what he wants to do. He used to have a business, doesn't work anymore, that shut down. Then he picked up some job, absolutely hated it, and then invested into something, and he wasn't even sure if he wanted to do it. And now he's back and forth debating on what he actually wants to do. And that's why you have to get specific on what you actually want. And this is why it's important to reverse engineer your goals. See, I think the first thing you have to do is look at what exactly do you want? What are the tangibles? What do you want your lifestyle to look like? What do you want to drive? Where do you want to live? Right? And I don't mean just only focus on just the materialistic things, but I'm just saying this as an example, just that way you can visualize what's going on, right? And once you start doing that, then you can start backtracking. Like, okay, if these are the things that I want to do and go out and achieve, right? Again, and it could be taking care of my parents, it could be traveling the world, it could be even, propose to my girl, whatever. Like, whatever the case is, you really just have to figure out what you actually want. And then, like I said, from there, you start reverse engineering it. So, how do we go about that? Well, you can literally just get a pen and paper and just start writing. Okay, goal. How do I get said goal? What are the things I know I have to do in order to do it? And if you already have a business and you're already working towards that, you already know what you have to do, right? You just have to figure out the bottlenecks in your business and keep going past that. But I'm going to talk to the person who doesn't know what they want to do right now. And if you don't know what you want to do, you have to understand your calling and your assignment are two different things. Your calling, right? And if whether you're Christian or not, your calling is to be able to, serve something bigger than yourself, right? At the end of the day. And for me, being a Christian, for me, that is to follow Jesus and make sure that I stay with him to the end of time, right? And that's my main focus. That's my North Star. But what that means for you and your assignment, that means it could be different. And here's the thing, your assignment can always change. I think a lot of times we often think that it's like you have to pick this one thing and you have to stick with it for the rest of your life. But simply, that's just not true. That's really not true. You're asked when you're younger, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? But what you have to understand is that doesn't necessarily mean that's what you're going to be when you grow up. Like, you're asked when you're little, oh, what do you want to be? And you would say astronaut, athlete, whatever. But ultimately, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. But I will say, you have to make sure that you are just climbing on a path that is actually going to allow you to chase the things that you want to do. And I would say, honestly, if you are really lost and you don't know exactly what you're trying to work towards, go back to even when you were a kid. Like, what did you like? What were you passionate about? What did you see yourself doing when you wanted to grow up? And understand, again, your beliefs and mindset will change. Just even me investing in the different mentorships, traveling around the world, traveling to different states, meeting different people, being in different connections, being in different groups, that opened up my eyes and my perspective to understand there is something bigger going on here, and I have to put myself into uncomfortable situations so that way I can get from here to there. And that's why I say it's like you can't necessarily predict your future. Obviously, you can have a plan, but things aren't always going to go according to plan. It's just simply not true. But what can happen is if you know you have something that you're working towards and you have it laid out and you're just taking the consistent steps that you can every single day, I promise you, you will get there. And it may not be the way that you think, or you might get taken a different route. All right, the destination that you want to go to could be the same, but you could still be rerouted, and it could be rerouted a million different times. But you can't let that deteriorate your mindset and really bring you down, because it's just not going to benefit you in any way, shape, or form. You have to make sure that you know that the goal that you want and the things that you want to do, and you just stay consistent towards that. And like I said, if you get thrown off the path or you get redirected another way, again, don't let that beat you down. You have to understand that every single redirection is just realignment. It's not necessarily a loss. And again, you could have had the business, you could have lost the business, and then you're working some job, or you could have had the job and you lost the job and now you don't know what to do. Or a million different things could have happened to you, but you have to understand that that is where you're supposed to be right now. And that season could have been there to teach you an important lesson. Again, you could have had the business and everything could have been perfect, but what's not to say you needed to be more grateful for it. And let's say you maybe took it for granted, or, the business actually wasn't going to last, or you were meant to do something else. That's why you get put in different seasons. So don't get so mad at your circumstances, being like, why did this happen to me? This is unfair. But rather ask yourself, what is this actually trying to teach me? Because I know I got put here for this reason. So once you start understanding that, then you're going to be able to just know and adapt to being like, hey, this is my situation. This is what I can do about it. These are the controllables that I have. And whatever happens, happens. But all I know is I can just focus on what I have here. So here's the main takeaway I have for you. If you don't know what you want to do, especially when it comes to business or even just improving your life in general at this point, figure out what you want, figure out what the goal is, backtrack. How are you going to get there? How much time do you need to put into it? What resources do I need to extrapolate to allocate towards that? Who are the people I need to start hanging around? Who is the person I need to become? What does my schedule look like? What type of person am I actually, operating like, right? And start really figuring out those things and then start embodying it. And once you can start doing that, everything's just going to start clicking into place. So at the end of the day, also just trust the process and don't compare your timeline to other people's. It's very hard to, because especially me, I had a very slow start in my business career. I'd see all my friends and other people around me, especially being very young in the space. Like, I'm only 19 still, and all the people in my industry, I mean, they're still relatively young, but they're 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and so on and so forth. And that's my competition, and that's my environment, and it's good and I love it, but I can't let that mess me up mentally, because I know I'm supposed to stay on this path that's mine, and nobody can take that away from you, right? You have to just make sure that you're not comparing yourself to other people. And I know it's hard to, and I'm not saying don't get feedback and lessons from other people, but what I am saying is make sure you stay on your path and you're not focused on beating this guy or this guy. You're focused on beating who you were yesterday. And once you can do that, you're going to start noticing compounding effects. And from there, my friend, you will wake up one day and you will realize it felt like overnight and everything shifted and you actually got to where you wanted to go. That's all.